Good evening, folks. How you doing? It's your friend Phil here, project management trainer and coach. Thank you very much for joining me for this very brief touchpoint meeting. Some folks often have questions that they don't want to type in, so I thought we should have this forum really quick without spending too much time this evening to answer any pressing questions you have about the PMP exam or CAPM exam. So why don't you just chat your questions into the chat box, or feel free to call in. You can see the number right there. Call that number and we can have a conversation about the project management professional exam or the CAPM exam, okay? And that number, once again, for those of you who may not be looking at the screen, it is an American number. It's 646-876-9923. And when you dial that number, be sure to type in the code or punch in the code 293-909-684 pound. Mr. Mohammed, how you doing? Good to see you. I've only been gone for 3 days. Not that long. How you doing? How is Egypt? I hope you're doing good out there. It is roughly, what's the time in Egypt? Is it like 8 in the morning? Mr. Mohammed, 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning? Am I right? I hope you're doing good. And hey, I hope you are reading this book. I know you've got a lot of experience, I know you've got all that background, having worked with the folks in the US on military stuff, right? So I know you've got lots of experience, but have you started reading the 6th edition, Mr. Mohammed? I'm curious to know what you think about the 6th edition and how far you've gone with it. Hey, 615 champion. Oh, champagne. Oh, the drink of people who have succeeded. That means you're going to succeed, if that's your name. 615 champagne 01. Thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to learning. Absolutely. I look forward to your questions. So Mr. Mohammed says it's 6 a.m. in Egypt. Wow, you are an early riser. And I appreciate you joining so early. It is very, very early indeed. I appreciate you, man. So tell me, Mr. Mohammed, what's today going to be like for you? Are you going to study the PMBOK guide a little bit? Let me know what you're going to be up to today. Those of you that have questions, hey, you can call in. You can call in, and I will be extremely delighted to hear from you to answer the questions you have. Questions you have about the PMP exam or CAPM exam. Because what I have for you today may not fit everyone. This is really more for the people who do not know what to do in the first place for the CAPM exam. So I just want to go over the high level, of the CAPM exam content outline. But if you have questions or, you're reading the PMBOK guide and you're confused about one thing or the other, hey, this is your session. You're going to make this session what it is. You're going to make it a success by engaging me and typing in some questions for me to answer for you. Toya, thank you, Toya. Thank you. Good to meet you here. And you said you have the book, but most of the feedback has been that the exam is more about knowing the next steps after each process. Yes, so let me talk to that, Toya. To be perfectly honest with you, that is old school news. That is yesterday's news. Today's news about the PMP exam, today's news is a little bit different. Today's news about the PMP exam is such that wasn't that fun? It sounded like I was actually saying something. That's exactly what it is like when you hear all sorts of things. At the end of the day, it boils down to nothing. So let me tell you what exactly the exam will be made of. It will be made of different components. One will obviously be what should you do next, not what comes next, not what happens next. What should you as the project manager do next? Okay? Toya is a project manager on a project. She's just finished talking to her project sponsor about developing a document that will give them a roadmap for the project. What should she do next? She just had a conversation. She needs to get busy with a charter. That's what. She needs to start developing a charter. Now, the options to something like that could be endless. It could be identify the stakeholders or develop the project management plan. But there's always something to do best next, if that makes sense. That is just one of the tiny little pieces of the exam. Another aspect of the exam could be you're a project manager, you run into this problem. What should you do next? In that regard, it has very little to do with the processes of project management. It has to do with applying the processes in a logical fashion. You're a project manager, you get a change request. What should you do next? What you should do next, if you're just going by the 47 and going straight down, you're going to say, oh, I've done identify stakeholders already, and now I'm doing perform integrated change control. So probably what I should do next is, if you go down in that direction, you're going to miss it. If you go in that direction, you're going to get to close project or phase. So it's not necessarily what comes next, you know. And I'm being very careful to tell you it's not what comes next. What comes next would be more like the CAPM exam. You see, you've defined your activities. What should you do next? Or you've created your WBS. What should you do next? And then you've got some options. That could be probably more rote, but for the PMP exam, it's a potpourri. So what should you do next? This has happened. What should you do next? As opposed to what comes next. And then you also have the odd WPD, WPI, WPR sequence that you need to get familiar with. That could be thrown in as well. But I want to say roughly 70% of your exam is going to be this happened, and this could be anything. It could be the project manager ran into an issue, or this has just happened on the project, or a stakeholder has just done this on the project, or you ran into issues with a regulated document, or you've just finished an audit and you failed the audit, you know, maybe a government audit, maybe a customer walkthrough. What should you do next? Or your project is over and the customer has returned with a grievance about a product. What should you do next? So I don't want to fall into the trap of page 25, rote. That will not take us as far on the PMP. On the CAPM, it will take you quite far by knowing things in that fashion, because it's really more of a knowledge-based exam versus the PMP that's an application of the knowledge-based exam, if that makes sense. All right, so I hope that gives you some clarity, Toya. And then in addition to all this stuff I've said, everywhere in the PMBOK guide is fair game. They could create a scenario. Here's the key word, Toya. It's scenario. Scenario. It's all about the scenarios. It's all about putting you in a real world scenario and saying, what should you do next? Or what is the best thing for the PM to do? Sometimes they won't even be as kind to say, what is the best thing to do? They just say, what should the project manager do? And then you got to figure out in all of those options, there is always the best option, you know. So you want to keep that in mind. The best option is what you want to choose, not the correct option. You know, there are lots of options that could sound correct in a scenario. For example, Johnny is a 5th grader. He wakes up in the morning. What should he do next? Should he eat his breakfast? Should he start heading out to school? Or should he brush his teeth? The best thing to do is to brush his teeth. and then he can do everything else. So that's the logic on the PMP exam. It's always the best thing to do, the most relevant thing to do. You get some questions just in general that say, project manager runs into this issue. What should the project manager do? And as one of my PMP champions phrased it, he said, they would give you some mother may I options. You don't want to choose the mother may I options, which are go to your manager, go to your boss, set up a meeting, all those namby-pamby things. That's not what to do. What to do is to begin to solve the problem to the best of your ability or with the resources that have been assigned to you. So while in the real world, going to tell your boss something might sound logical, and that's becoming old across the board. Everyone knows that if you've got a problem, you go into your manager, you go with a lot of solutions, possible solutions, to run them by your boss so that whoever she or he is will run through your solutions and say, I think that's a good idea. Do that, don't do these, type of thing. All right. So I hope that gives you some clarity. Let me see if I can dig up something for you, Toya. Let me see. Think I might be able to find something of interest for you right here that may make you chuckle. The PMI, they're very generous, extremely generous to us. They're so generous that there's some information they've put out there to help us in an abundant way. Of course, I'm saying that sarcastically. But let's take a look, Toya. Take a look at what I'm about to show you in the next few seconds. If I can switch over to this screen. Yeah, you gotta love the PMI. A lot of people ask me this question, Phil, I want to know how to better prepare or best prepare for the exam. Do you have some past questions? Well, this is PMI's idea of past questions. Take a look at the screen. You can see I have 3 sample questions from the PMI. These are the only legitimately stamped questions that are on PMI's site right there, as you can see. And here are the 3 questions that give you an idea. They're meant to give you an idea, but in my opinion, they're just marginal, Anyway, it says, an accepted deadline for project approaches. However, the project manager realizes only 75% of the work has been completed. The project manager then issues a change request. What should the change request authorize? This is a classic one, okay? So PMI, if you're listening, I'm not being ungrateful. I'm always teasing the PMI. Doesn't mean that I don't appreciate them putting out these 3, because if these 3 weren't out there, people would have 0 legitimate clues. So PMI, all we're asking for is a bit more of this stuff. Hey, 10 questions, guys. Come on, 10, just 10. What harm is 10 questions going to do? Just 10. 10 questions. You got thousands of them. PMI, shit. Have mercy on the students, okay? Have mercy on us. Okay. So if you take a look at a question like this, it's very, very in the middle of the road and bland. But let's take a look at the options. Here's a perfect example of what the PMI do to you on the exam. Look at the options. What should a change request authorize is the question they're asking. You see how I've changed it to meaningful language that you can really relate to and hone in on? If someone says, what should the change request authorize? It's different from what should a change request authorize. In this case, they're trying to badger you into the corner to select an option that alludes to what is not. In other words, you're chasing smoke and shadows. There's no reference to what exactly the problem is or what exactly the change request is. No one has even said it's a problem, but they're trying to make you think. You see, the word only is a trick word. Only 75% of the work has been completed. You see? So this is a perfect example of how the psychology of the exam works. They try to set you up. They try to make you think that something is happening when it may or may not be happening. You have to go with what you've got. So it says, what should the change request authorize? A, additional resources using the contingency fund. When do you use a contingency reserve? Think about that. B, escalation approval to use contingency funding. Think about when escalation is needed regarding any type of funding. C, team overtime to meet schedule. So they're talking about crashing. And D, corrective action based on causes. So if you take a look at this question and you break it down, you can use the process of elimination to eliminate all of the bogus answers, because there are a bunch of bogus answers right here. Bunch of them. So let's take a look at these bogus answers. So this one, additional resources using the contingency fund. We can shoot that one down because we don't know if indeed additional resources will solve this. I don't know if it's even a problem. It's not a problem. Well, if additional resources is what the project manager needs. Take a look at it again. An accepted deadline for a project approaches, right? The deadline has been accepted. It's not coming upon you suddenly. It says, however, the project manager realizes only 75% of the work has been completed. So I'll say, so what? Why only? So if the deadline is tomorrow, it's possible, it is possible that the remaining 25% of the work could be done in a day. I don't know what kind of a task it is. I don't know if it's level of effort. I don't know how things are being claimed. So this is just trying to psych you up to feel, oh, there's a problem. Only 75% of the work is being done. See, it's bogus. And then it says the project manager then issues a change request. Then, to suggest that the only is linked to the then. You get what I'm saying? They're trying to make you think the only is linked to the then. And they're not necessarily. See? So we can shoot down A because we don't know if we need additional resources. B is suggesting approval to use contingency funding. For whatever reason, we don't know if contingency funding is the answer. So we can shoot down B as well. C, team overtime to meet schedule. It suggests that adding more resources, or crashing really, because crashing is adding resources or doing overtime, or paying to expedite a part, for example. Those are examples of crashing. So C, team overtime, how do we know? How do we know that it's a human-related issue? It could be a physical resource issue, you see. We don't know that. So A, B, and C immediately can be shot down. And that leaves the bland answer, D, corrective action based on causes. So when you really analyze this question, the most bland answer, most change requests are for either corrective action, preventive action, defect repair, and of course to update the documents and plans. In this case, we can, through the process of elimination, go with corrective action based on causes. Since the question sort of suggests that something's up, we will go with the safest answer. In this case, it is D, as the PMI have shown in this bold legend that this is the correct answer. It says correct answers are bolded. So that is one out of the 3 questions that the PMI has for us. So does that help a little bit, Toya? Does that give you some perspectives as far as what these folks could do on the exam? I'm hoping that gives you some ideas about how the questions could be. Hey Renee, how are you, man? How you doing? It's been a while. I hope you are doing good, and I hope you are hitting your books hard. It is a very bland question. Mr. Mohammed says, eliminate, then see impact. There you go. Good. All right. So that is one question. Since we're not sure when we're going to speak again, let's just tackle the next question. I think we should probably take a look at all 3, and I'll try to be a little bit quicker on this next one. But let's take a look at question 2 and see what's here. So it states, the project manager develops a process improvement plan to encourage continuous process improvement during the life of the project. Which of the following is a valid tool or technique to assist the project manager to assure the success of the process improvement plan? Okay, so process improvement plans existed in the 5th edition. PMI, again, here's a message to you. I think this question needs to be rewritten from the standpoint of the 6th edition if we're really going to be fair and honest, because I thought it was a good idea to keep a process improvement plan as one of our options. However, in the PMBOK Guide 6th edition, the process improvement plan has been yanked out. We do have process analysis, though, on page 292 of the 6th edition. But anyway, there you go. Those are the options. So, which of the following is a valid tool or technique to assist the project manager to assure the success of the process improvement plan? Well, the most logical one is there already boldened. But if you think about the process improvement plan, a tool and technique is really what they're asking for. In the same vein, we can use the process of elimination to get rid of a bunch of these. So, tool and technique of, in the past, it was in quality assurance or perform quality assurance, which has now been changed to manage quality. So if I was looking at this, you guys should know this though, that the managed quality process is the catch-all for quality assurance and ensuring that whatever you're designing is designed for whatever variables you're trying to maximize, designing for quality, designing for convenience, designing for ease of updates and so on. So in this instance, change control system belongs to perform integrated change control. We would get rid of that. Benchmarking belongs to collecting of requirements. We could also use this in some other processes, but chiefly that. And then configuration management system, again, is from PICC, performing integrated change control. That's where that dialogue belongs, So the best option, benchmarking is also used in plan quality management, but not in managed quality. So, the best option in my mind would be, of course, B, like the PMI has pointed out. So even though the PMBOK guide has changed, it is still the best option because the process in the PMBOK guide where we actually work out process improvement is managed quality. Okay, so again, it's still the best option, even though the PMBOK guide has changed. All right, now let's look at our final one here. Let's go down to our final one. Number 3, the project manager meets with the project team to review lessons learned from previous projects. In what activity is the team involved? Is the team involved in performance management? That is a rather vague one. There's no such mention. Maybe performance reporting. I don't know about performance management. I wouldn't touch that one. Scope identification is a bogus term. Doesn't even make sense. Risk identification, they mean identify risks. Plausible, right? Because in identify risks, you're taking a look at that rearview mirror, looking at projects from the past and trying to identify risks based on that stuff. It's possible. And lastly, you've got project team status meeting. So in a project team status meeting, you're concerned with the current state of the project. You're not necessarily taking a look at lessons learned in a project team status meeting. Maybe in a risk identification meeting, maybe in a risk planning meeting, but not a project team status meeting. So the answer is risk identification. So those are the types of questions. So you can see the reason why I was a little bit hesitant to say it is a what comes next is because, as you can see from these, you need to identify what exactly am I doing. This one says, in which activity is the team involved? So this is a what am I doing question. This one is, what is a tool and technique of? But of course, it's been dressed up to sound more foreboding and to make you think and make your heart rate go up a little bit. Danger, danger. Pimpy's approaching. And this one, this is kind of what should we do in the context of this scenario type of question. So, these questions are written by psychometricians. They're written by people who know how to really test, your knowledge and the application of knowledge to see if, one, you have the knowledge, and two, you can apply the knowledge. The downfall of a lot of people on the PMP exam is not that they don't have the knowledge. They've got the knowledge. It's the application of the knowledge to a real world scenario, or the deduction of facts based on the knowledge that they've got. That could be the problem. So, PMI has made it it's a challenging exam. It is a challenging exam. But if you do your homework, I often tell people, go with a method, that really works, and get someone in your corner, someone like your buddy Phil, So a lot of our students who have passed the exam in the past few weeks, they attest to the fact that the learning management system of Praizion on Praizion.com, the questions were so miserable that by the time they got into the real exam, it was like, this is easy. This is, So, my suggestion is don't do the feel good type of questions. There are a lot of questions out there, so many questions. It kind of concerns me when I see people very hungry and eager for free questions, because this is the 6th edition. Anyone doing due diligence should just be putting the plastering and a coat of paint on solid questions. Anyone that's bombarding you with thousands of questions already, I get a little bit concerned, because 6th edition is new and you need data, you need student data. You need to put students through these quizzes and find out, was it a success? Did they fail? And based on what you observe through data, that your solution and your questions are absolutely working. Like in the past few weeks, we've had students give their lessons learned as far as what did they do and how did they succeed. And these students who have given us these lessons learned, it's one after the other. It's those questions on the learning system, they helped, so on and so forth. So I'm saying all of that to, encourage people who are getting ready for the exam to not go after just any old bunch of questions, stale questions that have been here since PMI was founded in 1969. No, I'm joking. Since 1999, since the PMP exam got all hot and heavy, there have been questions out there, but those questions need to evolve and change. Toya, let me show you one more piece of information that I think is really going to help you for your exam. the last piece, and a lot of people have seen me talk about this, but in my mind, it's the best kept secret. So it's called the PMP exam content outline. I know I'm probably in broken record mode for some people. They're like, Phil, you're always talking about the content outline. I have to, folks, because a lot of people don't know that the content outline is there. So take a look at the screen. Let me share this with you. This document that you see on the screen used to be about $39. PMI have now made it available for free. So PMI, I'm acknowledging that you've been very generous in giving us this document. This document, and don't be deceived by the 2015 date, this is the most current content outline, you see. Now, this content outline, if you go through it painstakingly, it will help you know what to expect on the PMP exam. Breaks down the exam by domain. I know you might have seen this before, but it helps sharpen your focus. And then here is the really cool thing about this document. It begins to dive into the specific domains, task by task. So if you take a look at a task such as this, perform stakeholder analysis using appropriate tools and techniques in order to align expectations and gain support for the project. If you're reading that and you're like, what on earth is a stakeholder analysis, and how many times does it appear in the PMBOK guide, and is it only in initiating? Those are the questions you need to ask, and then you need to go look for the stakeholder analysis talked about in the PMBOK guide. And you need to do this for every area before you exam. That would be my recommendation, because guess what? What I'm showing you right here is the blueprint on which the exam is based. That's right. The PMP exam is based on this blueprint. Okay. So I hope this helps give you even more clarity, Toya, on what to expect on the exam. All right. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, let's see. Mr. Mohammed, you chose C, and that is, of course, the right answer. Good, good, good. Well, I'm glad that helps. So let me shift gears here, and let me go to something for my CAPM friends. I know there's actually someone taking the CAPM exam this week, and we didn't get a chance to speak last week, but anyway. So don't forget, if you've got questions and you want to chat and it's going to be a longer conversation, feel free to call the number on the screen below and just dial in, join the conference. Let's have a conversation if there's anything you would like to talk about real time, okay? So this is the CAPM exam content outline, similar to the PMP exam content outline. It is based on real data. So the PMI put this out based on real information. It says, individuals who contribute specialized skills to a project team can benefit from this certification by aligning their work with project managers. Individuals who do not have project experience but are interested in project management can also benefit from this certification by demonstrating their professional knowledge. You see, it's all about the knowledge, folks, in this exam for the CAPM. It says this knowledge can be applied on the job to on-the-job experiences that help develop competencies in the practice of project management. Individuals who carry the CAPM designation after their name enjoy a high level of credibility from PMPs. That's the summary. PMI identified 3 subject matter experts familiar with the CAPM certification program to update the CAPM learning objectives to reflect the content of the revised PMBOK Guide 6th edition. Under the guidance of ProExam, Professional Exam Service, the SMEs worked together to create the LOs over a 2-month period. The revised and updated LOs incorporating new and existing knowledge, with special emphasis on the creation of learning objectives reflecting agile, adaptive approaches as described in the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. The larger list of learning objectives were then reviewed, edited, and validated by a separate group of 12 SMEs using both web-based and in-person meetings. So that's what I'm saying. This stuff, PMI didn't just throw it together. It's based on people sitting down and coming up with these objectives, and now we have 58 learning objectives. So if you're getting ready for the PMP, the CAPM, beg your pardon, exam, know that you're in good hands. I am a CAPM as well. My first experience on the CAPM exam was in 2011. Did the CAPM exam because I trained the CAPM and I just felt it would be good to know what my poor students go through. You know, I've been hearing, Phil, it's not that easy. You say it's easy. So I took it, and they're right. It's not a cakewalk. The CAPM exam, while less intense, will still give you a run for your money, even as a PMP. You'll still second guess yourself, even in some of the questions. So it's not one of those you can do with your eyes closed. I often tell people getting ready for the PMP exam that have not yet applied for the PMP, if they wanted to take the CAPM just to kick the tires and get a feel for what the PMI have out there by way of questions that could rattle you, take the CAPM. It's a good run for your money. And the cool thing about the CAPM is you can do it right there in the comfort of your home. Just crack open your laptop, hit a button, your camera comes on, and remote proctoring kicks in, and you can take it right there at home. There's no excuse anymore for not taking professional project management exams. You could do it right there at home with the camera focused on you. You know, in fact, my Prince 2 exam from a different organization, from Exin, was done by remote proctoring. It works just like being in a Prometric test center, only that your proctor is remote. And it's recording the experience, it's recording your screen movements. You can't cheat. Okay, so that's already out of the question. And then you have to turn your laptop around the room so they can see your desk is clear, so on and so forth. And then you take the exam. But PMI came up with this, initiative. I think it's really cool that you can take the CAPM exam at home. And, going back to what the PMI are stating, I had a student who was a CAPM, took the CAPM exam, passed the exam, got gainfully employed, really, really well employed here in Arizona with a government agency, and blew the lid off that position with a CAPM, promotion upon promotion. So it's not about the certificate, folks. It's about the knowledge and what you can do with it. That's really what it's about. And this lady, she proved herself, and she was saying, Phil, I need to get the PMP, next. But she did so well with just a CAPM, without spending the $555 for the PMP. See? So going back to our content outline, for the first chapter, it's 6% of the CAPM exam. The process groups, of course, are important here. Relationships between projects, programs, and portfolios. Operations, a typical project lifecycle, and understanding the function and importance of tailoring. Chapter 2, the project environment, identifying the factors and assets that could impact the outcome of a project. Understanding organizational systems, that's a big one. A lot of people are not very keen on this chapter, but still a good one to read. Even as a PMP, you need to have this stuff down. Understanding the purpose and activities of the PMO and recognizing the hierarchy of projects, programs, and portfolios in economies of scale. Role of the project manager, understanding the primary functions of the PM, understanding the project manager's sphere of influence, identifying the major elements included in the talent triangle, and recognizing the difference between leadership and management. So that one was not there in previous CAPM exams. And of course, from this also gives you some insights as far as what you can expect on the PMP, 4, integration management, 9% of the exam, understanding the 7 project management processes, the ITTOs, of course, the purpose of integration as a whole, concepts and procedures related to change management. That's big. Even on the PMP exam, just listen, put your ear on the ground of the social media forums, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of those groups. You got people saying, hey, change management was huge and that kind of thing. I've heard that so many times. Identifying tailoring considerations in project integration management, knowing how to tailor, and identify methods for project integration and knowledge management. So manage project knowledge is really what they're referring to, that second part of the sentence. Scope management, understanding the 6 processes, the ITTOs, key concepts for tailoring, and these are at the beginning of every chapter of the PMBOK guide. I'm not sure if you guys have done this, and even if you have taken a PMP exam, this breakdown, I hope it's helping you, because on your exam, guess what? This book, the beginnings where it talks about the CTTs, I call them the CTTCs, concepts, trends, tailoring, and considerations for Agile. All of that stuff, it is fair game, because we see it here on the CAPM that is not even, an application of knowledge exam. And they're talking about concepts, trends, tailoring, and consideration for Agile. So it is very important, folks, that as you're reading through the PMBOK guide, you hone in on those areas as well, the CTTCs, and understand the project scope management in agile or adaptive projects. You can see that, this last point, understand project scope management for agile/adaptive projects, including the use of prototypes. You see a similar sentence across the knowledge areas. In schedule management, you see identify considerations for agile, adaptive environments in project schedule management. So talking more about release management, and how you plan out a release and the iterations and so on within that. That is also important for your PMP exam, Now this one, it may come as a surprise. On the CAPM, it says solve simple network diagrams problems and perform basic scheduling calculations. So for folks who feel, the PMP exam, I don't think I'm going to get network diagrams, you really can't bank on that. The PMI could come from any angle. And here on the CAPM, they're talking about solving simple network diagrams, you see. Taking a look at cost, again, understand the processes and the ITTOs. And then it says tailoring, understanding how to tailor this for Agile, cost for Agile, and applying basic forecasting and earned value methods. Earned value, definitely fair game on your CAPM and PMP exam. Even TCPI, it's fair game. Quality management, again, understanding the processes and the ITTOs, understanding the reasons for and approaches to adapting quality management in different project environments, and the quality tools and approaches for continuous improvement. So for that, folks, you're talking about everything from the Ishikawa, the control chart, scatter diagram, cause and effect diagram, which is the same as the Ishikawa, all that stuff. You're going to get questions, about similar tools. Resource management, again, know the 6 processes and the ITTOs, know the core concepts and how to tailor this thing to Agile. Identifying techniques for developing a team, managing conflict, and resolving resource-related problems. That's big. When it comes to conflict, know the preferred way. The preferred way to resolving conflict is problem solving. So you got to know stuff like that. Communications management. Again, understanding the processes and ITTOs and tailoring this to Agile. And, in Agile, communications is definitely more regular, more frequent. It does not happen as drawn out, instead of an every week meeting, you're having daily stand-up meetings, for example. Recognize the dimensions of communications and components. So all the different dimensions within which you can communicate, and also understanding the direction, diagonal, up, down, across, that stuff is important here as well. And the skills, communication skills and methods, interactive push and pull for sure, and all the other different communication approaches. Risk management, understanding the core processes, the 7 processes, the ITTOs, key documents, Talking about simple risk calculations, probability times impact, understanding expected monetary value. Again, similar territory. This is very similar to what you need to know for your PMP. It's just not as intense, but still give you a good run for your money. Recognize when and how to adjust risk based on the project environment. So this is really monitor risks. In procurements, again, understanding the core processes and ITTOs, identifying key concepts for tailoring, and identifying various types of contracts, fixed price, cost reimbursable, time and materials, and then the different variants of fixed price, different variants of cost reimbursable, source selection criteria, and different ways you select a vendor. Lastly, stakeholder management. Understanding the processes and ITTOs, recognizing key stakeholder roles and needs. So all stakeholders are equal, but some are more equal than others. And those are the key stakeholders. In your power interest grid, you got those at the top right. You want to be careful with those folks. Manage close. Okay? Manage close. And then identifying the key concepts and benefits of stakeholder management, also very important. Stakeholder management, they've introduced a few new things like this stakeholder cube, being aware of that and how it equates to a 3-dimensional model versus the power interest grid, which is a 2-dimensional model, or the influence impact grid, and stuff like that. Understanding the differences between those options, the salience model as well, that stuff will help you for your CAPM exam. And that's it. You see, it's a very short document. That definitely did not take us too much time. So I want to encourage you, if you're getting ready for the CAPM exam, study that one. If you're getting ready for the PMP exam, then you want to look at this one. Okay, the content outlines are definitely going to help you. Okay, and that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you for tonight. In the absence of questions, we are pretty much done. Let me see if there's any questions I missed. Did I miss any questions? Deepak says, any Agile questions? Very good question, Deepak. So let me see if I can refer you to the PMI's blurb about that. There's conflicting information about this, to be honest. PMI say you could get questions, but as far as keeping your ear to the ground and listening out to the LinkedIn forums and things such as that, and if you haven't joined the PMI's LinkedIn forum, you might want to do that. You could learn a lot from people who are getting certified. But basically what we hear is it's not that big a deal as far as the Agile questions on the PMP exam. Now that you bring that up, hold on to that thought. I'm going to do a little bit of searching in the content outline, Deepak. Let's take a look. The word Agile does not even appear in the PMP exam content outline. That's helpful. But as far as the actual page, why don't we take a trip together? Let me share my screen here, and you and I can put our heads together and see what we find out. So take a look here. If you go to certifications, PMP, taking a look at this page, important updates. So what is changing? Let's read this together. It states, if you are utilizing the PMBOK guide as a study tool for your exam, you can expect to find the following updates in the PMBOK guide. A chapter on the role of the project manager, To rename knowledge areas, every knowledge area now features 4 new sections. So this one right here, considerations for Agile DPAC, if I were you, I would definitely hone in, like I said, on those. Let's see if there's anything else. And that's it. There's pretty much nothing else. But I do recall seeing something relating to Agile on a previous post. Yeah. Let's see. Let's click on this and see what happens. Okay, let's take a look at this. Review tips. No. Oh dear, those are the sample questions again. That's fun. Yeah. So folks, as far as concrete numbers, I'm not going to give you any because, like I said, putting your ears down to the social media forums, it's very obvious that if you understand the core essence of Agile, reading the Agile practice guide and, the Agile Manifesto, if you do that, I think you should be in great shape. Because, I've taken the ACP exam, and my ACP exam, to be quite honest, was a good run for my money only because I had read the Agile Manifesto. If you have not read the Agile Manifesto, I would highly advise that you do before your exam. And the Agile Manifesto can be found at the Agile Alliance site. And I'll just share this with you really quickly. If you go to the Agile Alliance site, which I'm showing here, you can see the Agile Manifesto. See? Click on that. Read it. You can even download a free copy. Make sure you know what's in there. And then you've got the 12 principles put under a microscope. This is honestly, in my opinion, without this, I would have found it very hard on the ACP. And I think that with this, people studying for the PMP, I think they would do well with these 12 principles. There's a subway map to Agile practices. You can see here. So some of these terms, if they are meaningless to you, I would say, do your little investigation by clicking on it. For example, the Kanban board. You click on that. Takes you to what exactly it is. See? And this is extremely useful for anyone who is not very familiar with those Agile terms. Maybe you got a rough idea of Agile, but you don't really know things like the 3 questions. Click on that. What are the 3 questions? What should you be looking forward to hearing as a Scrum Master? Well, the 3 questions. What have you completed since the last meeting or since yesterday, whenever that was? What do you plan to complete by the next meeting? And what are the impediments? What's getting in your way? So if you're new to Agile, right, and you're taking the PMP exam, hey, if you're one of our students, you already know we've got this stuff on our learning system for you to go over. We've got videos, about 1.5 hours of training to familiarize you with some of these core terms. But for anyone else who may not have access to things such as that, I would recommend going on, like I said, like I'm showing you right here, go on this site and begin to study some of this stuff. It will also help you. Test-driven development is another of those interesting approaches to coding, Thinking about the test before you write the thing. All of these terms, they're going to help you cement a picture of what is Agile better. So check out the subway map and then the Agile glossary. If in doubt, click on the Agile glossary. You could go through the glossary, by just clicking letter by letter, trying to find out what exactly do they mean by this or that. This is really more for informational purposes. The Agile practice timeline and some of these things that we hear about, the advent of Scrum and so on, we can see the timeline of when these things like RAD and Scrum came on the map. So it's a well put together piece of work that will help any project manager trying to break into Agile. And my recommendation is just spend a day on this website going through this stuff. Spend another day reading your Agile practice guide. And I think you should be good, to be honest. I think for your PMP exam, I think you'll be in good shape if you did this. Because what they're going to ask is not going to be one of the specialized Agile deep dives into JAD or RAD or something else. I think it's going to be very high level, based on Agile at a higher level than getting into the weeds. Even the ACP exam is not going to take you too far into the weeds, to be honest. It's really more about having the mindset. So for the PMP exam, I would expect that going through these few things I've showed you tonight will help you firm up your Agile understanding. All right. So with that, my friends, I want to say a big thank you to you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for staying tuned to the channel. If you found use from these videos, don't keep them a secret. Share them with your friends, people getting ready for the exam, and don't forget to hit subscribe and the like button. It will be much appreciated. I want people to know about these videos, and I want people to crush the exam. I want them to get certified, because the more people get certified, the better project management will become. Have you been in an organization where project management stinks? There's no PMO, and where there is a PMO, it's not functioning. And when people have attempted to do things, it falls flat. We need more advocates. I went out to a company to train somewhere in Atlanta many years ago. The people I trained, without management coercion, lots of them got certified. They're now running the PM ship. And I'm so proud of them for what they're doing. Putting together training, helping people learn about the PMBOK guide in-house. They don't even need to call their buddy Phil anymore. I did such a great job. The ripple effect is still continuing. That's exactly what I want. I want people to know more about this profession and spend their money wisely in managing projects. Because the PMI data shows that 89% of the time when projects have succeeded, they have had a project manager that knows what he or she is doing, someone who is certified. So there's data, a lot of data in the PMI through white papers and studies and so on that shows a credentialed project manager has a higher chance, I'm not saying every time, but has a much higher chance of success than someone who is kind of flying by the seat of their pants and doesn't know what they're doing. Now, look, there's a difference between knowing what you're doing and being certified, granted. But there are people who are not certified and they don't know what they're doing and they're running projects. Double trouble, you see. So I often tell project managers who've been doing this for a long time, just make it official. Make it official. Know what the PMI are talking about in the book, and you become even more formidable. You're able to reproduce yourself. You're able to pass across a method to the madness. Okay? So thank you all very much, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Study, 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 and hit it hard. One more check. I didn't check for questions. Let me do one more spot check so I don't miss anyone. Don't want to miss your questions, folks. So let me check. So Biren, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Biren is our PMP champion. Biren doesn't need to scramble to wake up at 6. He wakes up at 8. He's a PMP. It's one of the benefits of being a PMP. You wake up anytime you want. Renee said, any voucher or coupon for... I wish, Renee. I wish. You know, that's the question that a lot of the government agencies, you know, the U.S. government agencies I train, I often get the question, Phil, you know, is there any discount for the PMP exam for 50 of us? I'm like, sorry. PMI ain't giving me no discounts. Anyone discounts as much as I know. Or maybe there are some secret discounts. I haven't been privy to them. I'll just tell you right off the bat. All of my exams have been at full price, $555 and above, depending on the exam. So sorry, I don't have any coupons, Renee. Wish I did. Wish I did. Renee, Renee, you've been on the program. Let's see, which programs do we have out there? Renee, which program have you not done? So, Biran, I just answered that question. Yeah, how much of Agile part is to be asked on the PMP exam? No idea. You know, with the PMI, it's like London weather. You really can't tell whether it's going to rain or not. Who knows? So, Renee, you've been on the power review, haven't you? You haven't done anything other than the power review, have you, Renee? I don't think you've done anything other than the power review. It would have been good, Renee, if you could come on the full-blown course. It would have been good if you could have done that. So where are you in your studying? Because I know you were hitting it really hard, but I'm not sure where you are in your studying, Renee. I really want you to succeed. So... what are we going to do about your amping it up? I really think you should come aboard our full-blown course, and I think that will help you even more to hone in on stuff. But anyway, just feel free to shoot me an email. Let me know how you're doing and what's going on. You know, we didn't see you in the last meeting, Renee. The meeting we had on Saturday with Lindsay. You know, didn't see you in that one. So those meetings, you still have access to come on those meetings if you want, you know. So just keep that in mind anyway. Okay, folks, well, let's call it a night. Thank you very much. If you have any more questions about the PMP, CAPM exam, project management, don't hesitate to shoot them down below. And I will tackle the questions when next we have these online touch points. For now, it's good night, all the best, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Have a lovely day, lovely night, and speak to you soon.